I just want to know if anybody else lives in a apartment that constantly deals with some bullshit. Okay, cool. I pay all of my fees for July, all my move-in fees, my rent, my insurance, all of it. All of it. It's August 1st, right? So everybody knows rent's due on the 1st, right? Log on to my lovely little portal app. What do I see? Uh, 1,200 and something. What the do you mean? What the do you mean? My rent on my legal document, my signed lease, including pet fees, which I no longer should have because he's an ESA dog, was $972. A lot on its own. Why is it now $230 more? What the is good? What the is good? Am I tripping balls right now? I literally just texted my landlord so pissed because I'm like, what the is this? And best believe, I looked through that entire ledger. What the why is it rent 1,000, like 1,100 something with some change? Oh, no. And best believe, I saw somebody else that lives here post on her private story how she's getting overcharged.
This situation right here is crazy. So this young lady is saying that she just moved into an apartment, paid everything on the month that she moved in July. And then when it was time to pay that August rent, now the price has gone up. Now, I will say that is absolutely rare to see something like that happen. Now, we talked about in previous videos that, landlords or apartment buildings will increase the rent typically on a yearly basis. But for them to switch up and change the rent a month after you just sign your lease, I've never heard of that happening before. And a few things kind of come to mind when I'm listening to this situation is, either one, she may not have properly read the contract. That happened. She said that she went through it line by line. She treated it like a ledger. So I could definitely be wrong. But I just find it so interesting that, the rent price would go from $975 to, increasing by $230 without there being some indication that that was going to happen in the actual, contract. Now, this is one thing that I will say that I don't know if most people are aware of, that you may, in some cases, depending on the apartment that you're staying in, you may have like a base rent, and that may be what that 975 is. But then a lot of other apartments that I know of, they have additional fees for other, whether you want to refer to it as an amenity or other things that you are going to pay in addition to the actual base rent. For example, some apartment complexes will charge you for parking. Some will charge you for, the trash pickup. Some will charge you for water or sewage. Man, like there's a bunch of different things that apartments can legally essentially tack on to the base rate, which unfortunately will increase the amount of the rent beyond that base amount. Like it is something that definitely happens. It's something that I've even experienced in apartments that I've stayed at. And that's something that you have to factor into it. But I feel like that would have been something that, or I should say, that should have been something that was communicated to her or any other tenant that, hey, like you got your base rent and then you also are going to have to pay for this, and that. So when she talked about going through that ledger, I know when I look at the invoices in the portal for the apartment that I stay at, they have all of that extra stuff that they are charging in addition to the base rent, like the parking and the water and all of that type of stuff. So I would, if I was her, if she come off the gate like, yo, this is a BS apartment, which is so ironic to me, which is, if the apartment is BS, why did you move there in the first place? Like, it's so easy to, just complain about the place that you're staying as opposed to, just educating yourself on what's going on. I think it's so easy for people to just go with the nuclear response of, oh my God, I'm pissed off. I didn't expect this. What the heck is going on? And I'm about to crash out. Man, we live in this society of crashing out, and it got to stop. Like, she said that she texted her landlord pissed off, livid. Like, why not just text your landlord with a question like, hey, can we talk? Can we arrange some time? Because I thought I was signing a contract that stipulated that my rent wasn't going to exceed $975, and then now it's changed. Can you explain to me what's going on? I'm looking in the portal. It's not making sense. It's not adding up. And I think that type of mature type of conversation, unfortunately, is missed on a lot of people. I'm not even going to put this on her being a Gen Zer in this case, more than likely. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take a shot at the Gen Z, but I think that there's a lot of people that are just hot-headed. And the minute something doesn't go according to their plans, like they on 100 real quick. So I think it's really important, as somebody that is renting, you're staying in an apartment, before you sign that lease, make sure you read every line. Like, make sure you understand what you're signing. Make sure you understand what all of the fees, all of the base rent, all of the additional fees that you may have to pay on top of the rent, what that's going to be. And this is the thing. If her landlord did do what she said, which is quote her one price, sell her one price in the contract, and then try to, pull a bait and switch when it's time, like, you got a legal standing right there. Now, whether or not you have the ability to actually, hire a lawyer and take them to court, that's a whole different matter. But if they legally breach that contract, then you got a case. So that's why I find it really odd to think that the landlord did that to her. I don't think that they would put themselves in that position. Now, if it was like a private landlord, that's one thing. But, most apartment buildings, they are, reputable for the most case. I would assume, I'm going to make the assumption that she's living in a reputable apartment building. And if that's the case, my thought process is that they are not going to breach the contract for an extra $200, because it can cost you way more than that if you are taken to court just in the legal fees alone. So it just doesn't add up. And I feel like this is where, it may be difficult to do in the moment, but you got to woo-saw, right? And you got to figure out what's going on, have a mature conversation. And 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to get it sorted out, or at the very least, you'll be able to figure out where that additional $230 came from. And then you got a decision to make if you're unfortunately not able to, pay that. So yeah, this is an interesting situation. I'm curious, have you ever rented somewhere, whether it was an apartment or from a landlord, and the rent told you, or the contract or the agreement was one thing, and then you wake up and it's the next time for you to pay your rent, and it then shot through the sky? And I would say not rent renewals. We all know that after a year, you typically are going to see those type of increases. I'm talking about completely out of the blue. You still in the middle of a lease that you've already signed an agreement for, have been operating within that agreement for at least a month or more, and then you wake up and everything has changed. Like, that's a nightmare situation. I can understand why she would be mad if that really did happen the way it happened, but want to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. I catch you in the next one. You ain't got to subscribe until you're ready, but please, by all means, check out the next video. It's on your screen so we can continue this party rolling and you can stay a part of this family. I look forward to it. Catch you in the next one. Stay blessed.